Hey guys. Tonight, we begin beneath a blood orange sky, where heat rises off cracked earth, and the wind smells like dust, and something older than memory. You walk barefoot across Mesopotamia, the so-called cradle of civilization, but it feels more like a cradle of grudges around you. City-states rise like mirages, priests chant in Akkadian, kings argue over water, over gods, over boundaries drawn with reeds and ambition, and you're just trying not to get drafted into a war over a goat stolen 3 dynasties ago. You probably won't survive this, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You slip forward 1,000 years, and the empires keep changing. But the tension lingers. Babylon falls to Persia, Persia falls to Greeks, then to Romans, then to caliphates. Each leaves behind stone walls, shifting borders, and the quiet resentment of people who never quite chose which empire they belong to. You stop near the ruins of a Jewish temple, where exiles whisper songs of return. That idea, it never really dies. It just waits. Fast forward to the late 19th century. You sit beneath a sparse fig tree in the Ottoman countryside, listening to whispers in Hebrew. A few intellectuals and idealists are dreaming of something impossible, rebuilding a Jewish homeland in what they believe is their ancestral land. It's dusty, it's hot, and malaria is everywhere, but they still call it Aliyah, a spiritual ascent. One mainstream historical fact: this early Zionist movement predates the Holocaust by decades, contrary to popular belief, and yet, as you help stack stones for a new settlement, you feel the unease in the air. The land isn't empty. Palestinian Arab farmers and families live here too. At first, they shrug off the newcomers. Then the numbers grow. Fences go up. Jobs disappear. Mutual suspicion becomes the neighborhood language. Meanwhile, far to the east, you walk under soaring arches of Persian architecture. The Qajar dynasty is crumbling, but the Iranian sense of pride remains. You sip thick black tea and listen to poetry because in Iran, poetry is politics in disguise. It tells stories of Cyrus the Great, of glory lost and waiting to be reclaimed. And yes, there's still the occasional camel, but now there's also telegraphs and newspapers. You chuckle, because a French tidbit: in the 19th century, Iranian clerics tried to ban the telegram, fearing it could transmit spirits as well as words. You step into the awkward world of the British Mandate in Palestine after World War I. Picture this: red-faced British officers sipping tea while promising the same strip of land to both Jews and Arabs. You're standing between a Balfour Declaration and an Arab revolt, wondering if anyone's even read the fine print. Guns begin to appear, so do walls, and whispers of betrayal now echo in 3 languages. Historians still argue whether the British truly intended to create a Jewish homeland, or were simply trying to win World War I alliances on the cheap. You sit in the shade of a sandbag checkpoint and think. Either way, they left a land prime for explosion. By 1948, you're running, sirens are blaring. Smoke curls above Jaffa, Haifa, Jerusalem. Israel has declared independence, and 5 neighboring Arab countries declare war in return. You crouch behind a truck, listening to the clatter of rifles and the cries of people uprooted. For Israelis, it's the miraculous rebirth of a people. For Palestinians, it's the Nakba, the catastrophe. The same day holds joy and sorrow like opposite sides of the same torn photograph. You spend the night in a makeshift shelter. Someone hands you a stale biscuit and says, "It's never going to end, is it?" You don't answer because something deeper than politics is being born in that moment. A conflict woven into identity, history, and survival. And whether you're lighting a candle for independence or mourning your childhood home, you carry that fire or that scar forever. You wake to the sound of laughter and disco music. It's Tehran in the 1970s, and everything glitters. Western suits, imported cars, champagne poured like water. You drift past neon signs and magazine stands, unsure whether this is a Muslim capital or an off-brand Monaco, and they're posing on stage in a shimmering dress is Gugush, Iran's pop diva. She winks, and the crowd roars. You clap politely, but something feels off. Behind the curtain, the Shah's regime looms, polished, paranoid, and propped up by oil and the West. You overhear American advisors speaking in boardrooms. Mossad and Savak agents shake hands in the hallway. Strange bedfellows, those two Israel and Iran. You sip from a crystal glass, trying to forget that these friendships often come with expiration dates. You wander down a quieter street and feel the tension shift. Not everyone's dancing. Religious clerics whisper in side rooms. Students vanish after protests. Mosques echo with sermons about justice and fire. You lean close to a poster pasted in the dark. An old man in a black turban stares back. His name, Khomeini. He's not even in the country yet, but his voice smuggled through cassette tapes is already louder than any nightclub. Then it all crashes down. 1979 hits like a sandstorm. You're caught in the chaos as the Shah flees and the Islamic Republic rises. Black shadows replace miniskirts. Statues fall. Embassies burn. And just like that, Iran becomes the anti-West. No more allies. No more silent agreements. The revolution doesn't whisper, it shouts. And the shouting lasts for decades. Israel, suddenly, you're the villain in this new narrative. Banners call you the little Satan. You flinch when students chant death slogans. But your Hebrew sounds a little rusty these days. The warmth that once passed between these nations freezes solid. You glide into the 1980s, a decade soaked in trench warfare and ideology. Iran and Iraq lock horns. And you, lucky you, get to trudge through the marshes near Basra, dodging mustard gas and propaganda. Israel doesn't officially take sides, but let's say there are rumors of arms shipments to help Iran balance against Saddam Hussein. Hypocrisy, pragmatism, survival. It's all a blur when you're deep in the mud. Somewhere along the line, the Cold War global chessboard shuffles again. Israel leans into the American orbit. Iran doubles down on resistance. And now they don't just disagree, they sponsor enemies. You teleport to a bunker deep in Lebanon. The air smells of humidity and gun oil. You're with Hezbollah now. And while you'd prefer to be somewhere with less chanting, you listen anyway. This isn't just a militia, it's Iran's proxy. Nestled right on Israel's border, funded, armed, trained. The message is clear. If you strike us, we strike you from next door. You flip on a TV in 2002. A cartoonishly evil-looking guy appears on screen, George W. Bush calling Iran part of the axis of evil. You sigh. Another label, another escalation. Iran hears that and starts spinning uranium faster than ever. And suddenly, you're lying awake under nuclear clouds, wondering what a megaton feels like. One mainstream fact. Iran claims its nuclear program is for energy. But if that's true, it's the most suspiciously secretive energy plant in history. Deep underground facilities, denied inspections, glowing red buttons no one admits exist. A fringe tidbit. In 2009, Iranian clerics argued whether nuclear weapons were religiously permissible under Islamic law. Some said yes. Some said no. And one guy wrote a 47-page theological treatise comparing nukes to Muhammad's sword. You read half of it before falling asleep with your mouth open. Historians still argue whether Israel's own nuclear arsenal exists because Israel neither confirms nor denies anything. But between the cryptic warnings and satellite images, let's just say, you wouldn't want to test that theory. As the 2010s arrive, the conflict gets sneakier. You're not dodging rockets anymore, you're dodging code. You click on a thumb drive and accidentally unleash Stuxnet, a digital worm that shreds Iranian centrifuges like invisible termites. No one claims it, but everyone knows who made it. You stare at the screen in awe. This is war without uniforms. Then the assassins arrive. Motorbikes screech past, and nuclear scientists end up dead in Tehran traffic. The kill count rises, but the headlines stay oddly quiet. This isn't a war with parades. It's shadows on top of shadows. And still, the two nations circle each other like tired boxers. One slaps, the other retaliates. Sanctions tighten. Protests erupt. Diplomats sigh through gritted teeth. The world watches, half interested, half afraid, fully unsure what comes next. You check the calendar. It's been over 40 years since they were allies. You wonder what broke them so cleanly and so completely. But that's the thing about breakups born from ideology. There's no couples therapy for that. You're standing now in southern Lebanon. The earth feels soft underfoot, but the silence is deceptive. Somewhere not far away, a drone hums like a lazy wasp. You squint through the trees and spot them men in mismatched fatigues, carrying radios and shoulder-fired rockets. Hezbollah, Iran's longest arm, they're not hiding. They don't need to. Across the border, You feel the tension in Israeli villages. Bomb shelters double as living rooms. School children practice evacuation drills like it's part of math class. The border isn't a line, it's a heartbeat. Thudding faster every time someone coughs too close. It's the 2010s, and conflict isn't what it used to be. You sit at a laptop in Tel Aviv and watch as Iran's nuclear sites flicker with digital static. Cyber war has arrived. No planes, no tanks, just silence. Then malfunction. Stuxnet might have been the first, but it won't be the last. You don't see missiles flying. You see passwords stolen, files deleted, water pumps overheating on a summer afternoon. Then come the assassinations clinical, efficient, almost cinematic. A scientist opens his car door and a motorcycle zips by. No face, just a flash. Later, someone claims credit, or denies it, or just smirks. You don't know anymore. The world of shadows doesn't offer receipts. January 2020. You're at Baghdad airport. Not on purpose. Of course, you just happen to be there when it happens. A drone arcs through the night, and in a second, Qasem Soleimani, the most powerful Iranian general, architect of Tehran's regional influence, is ash and smoke. The air trembles with what-ifs. Iran vows revenge. The U.S. blinks. Israel quietly holds its breath. That strike draws a new red line in real time. It's no longer just proxy battles or sabotage. It's high-ranking officials. Public, spectacular, and chilling. You sense something irreversible in the air. But then again, you've felt that before. You wander into the world of public opinion, and it's even messier than the front lines. On the streets of Tehran, you hear chants for death, but also for freedom. In Tel Aviv cafes, there's patriotism, but also weariness. You scroll through Twitter and see slogans, flags, jokes, arguments all tangled into one impossible feed. And it's here, maybe, that things get the most confusing. Because for every general planning the next strike, there's a mother just trying to get her kid to school. For every firebrand yelling on television, there's a teenager making memes about war from both sides laughing. Half in irony, half in fear, you sip mint tea in a room full of diplomats. Someone brings up normalization, a new treaty, a handshake, smiles for the cameras. But behind the flashbulbs, you catch the glance, the one that says, "I don't buy this either." The Abraham Accords bring Israel closer to some Arab states, but Iran sees this as betrayal, not diplomacy. The region rearranges its furniture, but the same storm still rumbles outside. A mainstream historical fact. The 2020 accords between Israel and countries like the UAE and Bahrain are hailed as historic. Yet they shift the balance of power in a way that deeply threatens Iran. A fringe tidbit. In 2021, Iranian hardliners held a parade mocking the accords using cardboard cutouts and toy airplanes, equal parts protest and kindergarten art project. You watch, bewildered. Historians still argue whether true peace is even possible without addressing the Palestinian issue. It's the wound no one wants to touch. But without it, every treaty feels like putting curtains on a burning house. Now it's quiet again. You sit on a hill, somewhere between Jerusalem and Tehran, not literally, but emotionally. You look east, you look west, you feel the weight of centuries pressing down. These aren't just countries, they're civilizations, stories, memories carved into stone and song. And here's the strange truth. Iran and Israel are eternal neighbors, whether they like it or not geographically, but in narrative, in psyche, in that sleepless part of the mind that can't help but glance across the fence. You close your eyes. In one dream, they shake hands. In another, they never stop fighting. But most likely, they circle each other forever, cautious, wounded, aware. Because some rivalries aren't about land. They're about identity. And identity doesn't surrender easily. And now, as your breathing slows and the noise of the world fades just a little, you find yourself floating above it all, above the noise, the slogans, the fear. There's only quiet now. A desert wind brushing over ancient stones. The call to prayer fading into the hum of an air conditioner. A bus station empty at midnight, glowing under soft sodium lights. You sit on a bench between two people who don't speak the same language, but both watch the same stars. For a moment, they stop arguing. For a moment, there's only the shared ache of being human. You remember the markets, the music, the stubbornness, the pride. You remember the faces kind and hardened alike. This wasn't just about nations. It was about people, millions of them, tired, Proud, curious, scared, loving, and slowly, that weight of history becomes something gentler, a blanket, not a burden. A reminder that things don't always end, but they do change, that enemies can become neighbors. That silence can hold more than words. You stretch out, warm and still, and let your mind drift like a caravan fading into the dunes. The conflict sleeps for now, and so can you